And we're live.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Um, Today, the next lesson. I guess before we get started, I don't know if everyone is listening. If you're with us, if you can please pray, I'll give you a few seconds to chime in. Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, God, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. Through Christ Jesus our Lord, for that is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Um, and uh, basically, I know that there's a little bit of confusion with the last couple of homeworks. As you all know, this is kind of a new program, trying to work out some of the kinks and bugs. Uh, but what we do have is we did have the extension for the first homework, and so we're going to go over the answers today. We had a lot of people submit answers. I think we had close to 70 uh, out of 95, which is pretty good. I would have hoped for more, but most people's answers should be graded and everything. And so since the submission deadline is met, before we were going to start the next lesson, we'll just want to review some of those answers. Um, Before we get going, I want to see if I can pull up the answer sheet and show it to you guys here. And again, I also apologize. We realized with the last lesson too that I kept pointing and talking to about it PowerPoint that I could see on my screen, but apparently wasn't projecting to everyone for like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the lecture. So I apologize about that, but we'll review that again a little bit today. So if I start talking and say that I'm pointing at stuff and you don't see it, please send us a message or something so that we can try to fix the problem. Thank you. Okay. So right now I pulled up the answer key for the first homework assignment, and we'll start going through it. And again, if you guys are not seeing this on your screen, please let me know so we can try to fix it. So for the first one, we're supposed to type in Coptic the man and the woman. So basically, we're going to take this into parts. The P is the definite article pi, or P, paiota, and Romi means man, the man, nim, and T is the, then we have the jinkim, and then Sima, Hori, Yota, Me, Yota. T is him, the woman. So the man and the woman. Uh, the next one, the brother and the sister. P, Son is the brother. Nim, T, Soni, the sister. Okay. The next one was the boy and the girl. So the boy and the girl. P, again, the masculine definite article. So you notice it's the same word, elu, here, and elu, here, which just means young child. But if you use the masculine definite article, obviously it means the boy. If you use the feminine definite article, it means the girl. So P, elu, and T, elu, the boy and the girl. Um, the next one, uh, depending on, I'm looking in the book, which has a slightly different order than the online one, but in my book, uh, or actually online, let's go with the online order so it'll be consistent. Um, the sky and the earth, or heaven and earth. Etfe, remember T is the, the tav is the feminine definite article, etfe. nim, ip, kahi, the heaven and the earth, or the sky and the earth. I also put here in parentheses, you can also, because like I told you guys, but we're not really going to be that particular about which definite article for now, because either of them are actually okay, whether you use et or t, and we'll go into the differences later, but these were accepted as well, tife and pikahi. The father and the mother, ifiot, nim timav, pi yot nim ithmav is also acceptable. The father and the son, ifiot, nim shiri. And we also will accept pi yot nim pi shiri. The house and the room, pi e nim ti ri. Now I did notice something in grading several of the homework assignments. On the computer there was a typo, and it had, instead of this jinkim here, it had a symbol for stavros, which looks like a cross and had a couple of letters in it, and some people actually wrote that in their answer, but that was actually a typo. It's supposed to be a jinkim there and not have that symbol. We didn't mark off for that, but just everyone can be aware about that. That's not part of it. P E nim T ri. Okay, the next one, the room and the door, T ri again, the room, nim, P ro, the door. So we'll also accept T ri nim efro. That's okay. Efro is fine as well, instead of piro. Okay, and then the next one, the table and the chair, T forshi, nim T tots. I know it didn't have which designation tots is in the homework assignment, so we didn't really mark it off whether you put the masculine or the feminine, but there's actually a difference. T tots is kind of like means chair. This is the way you say chair. P tots is more of like a sofa or bench type thing. It's just kind of a subtle nuance thing that you don't really have to worry about it too much, but just more FYI more than anything else. Tots technically is like a chair or some kind of like fixed or stable object, but it's generally used as chair. And one clue that you probably are better, or it's better to choose the feminine definite article, is the fact that the last letter is a sema. Because remember when we reviewed the pronouns the last time, in thos we'll find that the suffix sema is always going to be related to something female. So in general, if you see something like that, then for the most part you're going to be using the feminine definite article, because the word itself is more of a feminine word as opposed to masculine. But this is just one of those weird things that we'll just have to memorize. But again, it's not a big deal. It doesn't come up much with what we're going to be doing anyway. But T forshin and T tots. Okay, the next one are the brothers and the sisters. So there's different ways of doing this. It's a little bit tricky, but you can just say ni esneyo. That in general can mean the brothers and the sisters all conglomerated into one word. Or other ways of doing it are saying ni son, the brothers, but you're taking, when you do son instead of esneyo, you're using the plural, but you're kind of considering each of the brothers individually as a group. So it has a slight change in the meaning, but that's okay. Ni son, and same thing for ni soni, the sisters. So there's different ways of doing this, so we're kind of a little flexible. We didn't mark people off too much on this. The fathers and the mothers, ni yoti. Some people forgot to use the use the regular form from changing this last letter from tav to t. So try to remember, if you have a plural in general, you're going to use this irregular plural form. So ni yoti, nim ni mav. And there's not too many irregulars. There's just a few, and actually most of them were listed in the last homework, so it's really not a whole lot more than what we have. The next one, the women and the men, ni, and then remember, he omi is plural for women, And I also were accepting Ashimi as well. But in general, Nihiomi is probably preferred. Like, from like the hymns, Nihiomi and Taisojin, Nihiomi. Nem, Niromi, the men. And Romi means men or man, but also means like mankind also in the general sense. For example, like when we talk about Jesus, we call him Pimai Romi, the lover of mankind. So Romi, it can mean, just depending on its usage, it can mean like a male, like a man, or it can mean man or mankind in general. And then the other one, the last two, also a little bit tricky, but some people got it and did really good. So remember, the boys and the girls, you can just kind of sum it up in one word: ni elaoi, ni elaoi. Remember, that's plural for young children, and it doesn't care about gender. So ni elaoi would suffice for the boys and the girls. We were also accepting other alternatives: ni shirin and ni sheri. That means the sons and the daughters. The strict way to say, if you want to say like the boys, it's very, it's beyond what we're doing these days. But it would be like ni laoi and hout. Hout means male, and ni laoi and simi means female. But anyway, that's way beyond what we're doing. But just ni laoi is the best option. And same thing, it was kind of the same kind of a trick question for this one too. Ni urau, but also we were no problem accepting ni uru and ni uro. So that's kind of the answer key to the first one. I believe there was one person I accidentally deleted your homework when I was trying to grade it, when I was trying to figure out how to use the system. So I sent you a private message. If you can please just resubmit it so I can fix your grade. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's that first homework. So let's...
Joe, there's some questions, by the way.
There is. Okay, let me switch to the other screen so I can see the questions.
Okay.
1 second here. Let's see if we can find it. Actually, maybe if you can just go ahead and read them, tell me the questions.
Yeah, sure. So the first question is, I think this is the first question. Can the girl also be a cheri?
Cherry, yeah, that's fine. Because like I said, we're not being that particular with the exact definite articles right now, as long as you got the spelling right, and we're learning to use the Coptic font and type correctly, etc. So that's fine. Cherry is fine. And let me pull it up on there so I can I'll type it here so people can see what we're talking about. So Jinkim, hopefully everybody can see this. Cherry, so I just typed it there, so that's okay.
Okay, and then the other question is, Soni is also an irregular plural? It's a question. The same as the masculine son?
Not really, no, but in general, when you're talking about siblings in Coptic writings, sometimes they will it depends on the author of certain texts. Like when you read about like monastic communities and stuff in Coptic, they'll sometimes if they're including groups of females, they will say niasneo, but it's kind of a mixed bag with regards to that, because you have to remember back in ancient times they didn't really have like a grammar book for everyone to study and have the same like English grammar. Like someone in California studies the same English grammar as somebody in New York, for example. But you have to remember in ancient Egypt they didn't have that, so that you'll see some variances. So both ways are acceptable.
And then there's one more. It's not really a full like a Coptic question, but it says, is there a Coptic keyboard link? I found it very hard to type in Coptic using the laptop. Thank you.
We'll have to leave. Those. It's a little bit tricky, definitely. I'm getting used to the Coptic keyboard. The only thing that I could say from my experience is just practice. And yeah, I know that's not the greatest or best answer, so I don't know if Mark Solomon or somebody knows of any kind of online Coptic keyboard that would be maybe a little bit easier for some beginners. But the main thing is to take your time and practice and just kind of double check the letters. I kind of noticed, a couple of people were writing like Sherry, for example. They would push the S and the H, like in English, and spell the sound like this. But you have to remember that just the one letter makes the SH sound. So it just takes a little bit of practice and kind of getting used to the keyboard. So if anybody knows of any easier way, they can maybe submit it to us on the forum or something so that everyone can have access to an easier keyboard system. Is everybody seeing what I'm typing? Hopefully, if there's any issues, please let me know. Okay. So, was that all the questions, Tony?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
There was something about the screen being blurry, but I think she fixed it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So that was lesson 1, the three different types of different articles. Lesson 2, we'll just kind of review it really quickly because I know the first half of the lecture was just looking at my face instead of the PowerPoint, which again I apologize about that. But let me pull it up here, so hopefully you can still see this. We'll go through it quickly before we do the next lesson. So remember we studied the personal pronouns. This group here. And so basically what I wanted to show you, I kind of made this table here so I can show you what, basically when we go through all sorts of different things in Coptic, it's going to follow this general format where we're going to have the first person row, the second person row, and the third person row. And there's going to be singular and plural. So basically, all the tenses and all the stuff we're going to do is going to fit into, these 6 areas here. So we're going to be saying a lot of times we're going to be saying the first person singular, the second person plural. So you have to just kind of familiarize with this table because everything is going to come out of this table. So first person meaning like I or we. Second person, you, and this is singular, so remember, it's going to have masculine or feminine, but plural is not going to have masculine or feminine, just you plural. And then the third person, he or she, obviously masculine, feminine, or they. So back to our homework assignment here, or our lesson, I should say. So when you look at this table, first person, oops, it doesn't highlight the same way, but first person, Anok, I. First person, plural, Anon, we. Second person is going to be Inthok and Intho, masculine and feminine, but the plural Inthotin, you plural. And again, it includes masculine and feminine because it's a group. And then the third person, Inthof, Inthos. Remember I was telling you, you're going to see the suffix is going to mean feminine. You're going to see this suffix, it's always going to mean masculine. So we'll just kind of pay attention to those things. And then third person plural, Inthau, they. And then we went over pe, te, and ne. The masculine for am or is, te, feminine for am or is, and ne. And then we took some of these examples. Anok, pe, piron. I.
Joe, can you zoom in a little bit?
Zoom in, is it small? Yeah, okay.
And also there's one more question. It says, can we get a copy or PDF file of the answers?
Yeah, that should be okay. I can send the answer key to you or Mark, and then if you know how you can send it to everybody, that would be great.
Okay, sure.
Or maybe you can upload it onto the the page or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll send it to you.
There's one more question. Outside of simply memorizing, is there a way to identify the gender of Coptic nouns?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like I was saying, like you'll see like the suffix like tuts, it ends with the sema, so in general it's going to be feminine. The vast majority, I'd say like 80%, is going to be masculine. unless things are clearly designated as feminine. But there are some suffixes that we'll get to know that we'll see they do tend to lean more feminine. But in general, if you're not sure, I would just lean towards masculine, and you'll be right most of the time. I know that's not the best answer, but it'll get, with time, you'll see the patterns, and we'll go over the patterns, hopefully. We may not get into it as much during the first, while we're going through the lessons, because really we just want to learn the grammar. But then definitely, in the next, coming semesters when we start, taking different texts, I'm hoping that we can, take parts of like the church books, or we can, what would be even more, not more about what would be kind of like different, something unique that we're not always exposed to, is we can get some of the Coptic saint stories that, we never really, come across, but we can kind of take some paragraphs from there and kind of go through it and learn how to translate, and then we'll start to see the patterns emerge over time. So, but in general, go for masculine unless you know for sure it's feminine. Okay. All right. And so we're not going to go over the answer key for this one because we did extend it. I was rushing everyone, so let's get it done by today, but we had a couple of requests to extend it, so it's not going to be due till next week. So, but this is just going to be translating. And then, so that was what we did for the first two lessons. And then let me see if I can pull up the third lesson here, and we can get started with today's work. Okay, so today's lesson, we're going to be starting the demonstrative pronouns. So remember, pronouns, like we talked about last time, it's words that take the place of the noun. So these ones technically are what we call the nearer demonstratives, N-E-A-R-E-R, because it's designating something that's near. And obviously, if you have a nearer demonstrative, you're going to have a further demonstrative, which means you're designating something that's further. So basically, what that means is this versus the further demonstrative is going to be that. So that's what the nearer demonstrative means. This, like you're talking about something, you're saying this, as opposed to further, it's going to be that. So we'll learn about the further ones later. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now, but the nearer ones we come across a lot. Like for example, in the hymn, like Fai itav ent, or Fai pech and omis ni. We're going to come across the nearer demonstratives. So it means this. So obviously masculine, because again we're seeing the same, the same prefix letter. Thigh, feminine, and nigh is plural. So we have a couple of examples here with using some of the words that we studied. Make it a little bit bigger here. Okay. So phi, pe, pi, rom. So we can start to see all the parts of the sentences now coming out. Phi, the nearer demonstrative, masculine, means this. Pe, can think of it as meaning is. It doesn't technically mean is, but in general, just think of it as that. That's the easiest way. And then pi, romi, the man. This is the man. Phi, pe, pi, romi. And the next one, the next example, phi, again, the near demonstrative masculine. And remember, when we are using the indefinite article as opposed to the definite article, these two trade places. So we talked about that last time. So instead of saying phi pe uromi, we say phi uromi pe. Phi uromi pe. This is a man. The next one, we're going to go to a feminine one. Thigh, te, ti, egg. Thigh, te, ti, egg. This is the watch. Remember, egg means hour or time, but in the book, the textbook that we're using, it's kind of trying to encourage like speaking Coptic as well, so they call it watch, which is acceptable as well. But this is the watch. And then the same thing when you have the indefinite article as opposed to the definite article. Thigh uagd te. Thigh uagd te. This is a watch. And then the next example for the plural, nai, ne, ni, tuts. These are the chairs. Nai, ne, ni, tuts. And then we go to the plural, nai. Remember, we're doing han now, indefinite. For plural, han, tutsene. Nai, han, tutsene. So these are chairs. And see how they put here some. It doesn't, it's not really necessary, but just put it in parentheses here so to kind of get the idea of what we're talking about. These are chairs. These are some chairs, as opposed to a chair. Nai, han, tutsene. So those are just some examples of the near demonstratives. So this didn't come out in Coptic. This is supposed to be Coptic, but for kind of learning how to to write and understand Coptic, we're gonna we want to learn this expression osh. So again, this is supposed to be in Coptic, but it's this osh. Osh means what or which. W-H-I-C-H. Osh, what or which. So when you make a sentence with it, it's going to be a question because it's an interrogative word. Interrogative meaning asking questions. Ash, be, by. What is this? And then the next one, if you're going to do like plural, ash, ne, nai. They didn't include the feminine in the textbook, but it would be ashtifai. So basically, this is going to be coming into learning how to understand different kinds of sentences and questions. And actually, you come across this osh, you come across it in different Bible readings and stuff actually. So it's not that it doesn't come across a lot. The next thing for today's lesson, affirmative and negative, basically yes or no. So how do you say yes in Coptic? Like if someone asks you a question and you say yes, or if someone is calling to someone and you say like yes mom or yes dad, or just yes in general, like is that the correct answer? Yes, you would say se. Se. So se means yes. It's kind of a little bit, you can kind of make some kind of mind tricks to remember, but se, it's like you can imagine that the S-E in yes, so se means yes. And then the same thing with no. No. Like if you're going to answer no, the jinkim, may, o, n. So if someone asks you, is that the right answer? Then you can say M1, or if it's wrong, or something. So M1 means no. And then the next interrogative particle that we're going to learn about too, it's actually a Greek word, but we'll see it a lot in Coptic, especially in the New Testament readings. Me. It's you'll see it introducing a sentence that's supposed to be a rhetorical question. Like, for example, but it comes up a lot in the Bible because there's various like questions that are like kind of rhetorical questions that are asked between the Pharisees and each other and stuff like that. So you'll see various sentences that are introduced with me, and it's actually Greek, but it's still carried over into Coptic. So what I mean by rhetorical is like this would introduce the question like you could say like me, does the sun shine? Yeah, of course. It's a rhetorical question. So it doesn't really introduce like regular questions, but more rhetorical questions. We'll see a lot of authors actually, like even in this book and all the different textbooks that I've, a lot of different books that I've come across, they don't realize that it's only for rhetorical questions, and they use it as a introduction for any question. But technically, when you look at it, grammatically, and actually go to actual sources, you'll find it's really only for rhetorical questions. The other thing that the author wants to point out for us today is that in Coptic, the yes and no questions are made by inflection. So what does that mean? It's the same thing like in English or other languages. When you ask a question, you have an inflection at the end. So it kind of like you raise your voice, for example. Like when you're asking a question, is this yours? Or whose is this? That's what an inflection is. You kind of have that kind of raising of your voice or an inflection at the end of the sentence. And again, here they're saying me is used to aid beginners as an introduction to question. It's not translated, by the way. Ash is translated as like what or which, but me, you'll see it in the beginning of a sentence, a question sentence, and it's not translated. It just kind of signals that this is a question coming up. Okay. So let's take some examples. Me, by okash pe. So me is not translated, but it shows us that this is a question sentence. Phi, we learned it means this. U, pa, ukash. Again, it means a reed, or we can consider it as a pencil. Phi, ukash pe. This is a pencil. If you didn't have the me, like let's say it wasn't there, basically with the me, it's saying, is this a pencil? If you didn't have the me there and you were ignoring this and it was not there, then Fai ukashpe means this is a pencil. But with me there, we know it's a question, so it means is this a pencil? Again, with the inflection at the end. Let's take another example. Me, thai, te, ti egg. So me, thai, te, ti egg. Again, with the inflection at the end. So that's how we know it's a question also. Again, without the me, then it would mean this is the watch. But with the me, it's indicating that it's a question. So you'd say, is this the watch? Next example, same thing, me again. Thigh, u, shori, te. Hopefully everyone remembers what shori means. Shori means the censer or the shoria. That's actually where we get the word in Arabic. It's from the Coptic word shori. And it carried over into Arabic. So shoria comes from the Coptic shori. Thai, u shori te. So is this a shoria or is this a censer? One more example here. Mi, naihan gomne. Han, the indefinite article. Gom, books. Or this would mean books together. But gom means book. And then ne. Mi, naihan gomne. Are these books? And again, if you did not have this, then you would read it as these are books. So me, again, like the author is saying over here, me is used to aid so that we can know that it's the interrogative particle. And remember the inflection. So I'm just going to go over some examples of some demonstrative adjectives. And these are included because demonstrative adjectives are similar to the demonstrative pronouns. The demonstrative pronouns, they can stand alone. So what does that mean? See how it stands alone by itself? It's not attached to a word. So the pronouns will stand alone. Phi, thigh, and none. They'll stand alone. This is a pronoun in and of itself. When you compare it to the adjectives will be attached to something. and they're the demonstrative adjectives. So they follow the same pattern: pi, tai, and nai. Instead of phi, thigh, and nai is the same, but we'll go through some examples. So these are attached now. So pi romi, that means this man, against the demonstrative. Pi romi, this man. Pi gom, this book. Pi gom, it's attached to it. Tai ishimi, this woman. Tai ishimi. Tai shori. Everyone knows this hymn from church, Tai shori. Tai shori means this sensor. Nai cash, these pencils. Nai alaowi, these boys or these children. You can't really tell. The author put it as boys, but you can't really tell that it's boys or girls. It's just these children, basically. Nai alaowi. And so that's basically it. So we're just learning some, more examples here of different things that will help us. And you'll see that these actually we'll run into these things a lot. So the main things that we want to learn from today's lesson are the pronouns that stand alone: phi, thigh, and nai. And then osh, when you ask a question, what or which is this? Osh means what or which. Se means yes. Emun means no. So like when you're answering a question over here. So like, let's say here the exercise is actually to answer these questions. So mi, phi okash pe, so then the other person would answer se. That means yes. Mi, phi teti ag, se. And if you want to answer it fully, you would say se, phi teti ag. Mi, phi ushori te, and you could say se, phi ushori te. Mi, nai hangom ne, se, nai hangom ne. Or if you want to answer it instead of using like se, like it says here, you would say M1. Mi, phi okash pe, say M1, hankash, on ne. Which we'll learn about on is the meaning no. But that's why we're focusing on just answering it with the yes here. So, and then we want to learn about the demonstrative adjectives. Remember that these ones will attach to a word. They can't stand alone. Like pairomi, paigom, taisini, taishori, etc. And so that's basically it for today's lesson. Any questions about anything so far? I know it's kind of some more information being hurled at everyone, but we're trying to take it in some small bits. This is the third lesson that we've gone through so far. So hopefully everybody's starting to kind of see and recognize some of these words and just say, oh yeah, I remember that part from this church book or prayer or whatever. And you're starting to recognize things like, for example, like Faipech and Ometni and Tai Shori. We're starting to learn and recognize Info Teti Shori. We're starting to recognize these things and actually being able to translate and know what these things actually mean instead of just reading the English translation that's next to it. So I think that's the main things that we want to go over today. So I just hope that everybody can, review the previous lessons and try to be familiar with them. And hopefully, instead of having 70 out of 95 people do the homework assignment, the second one, hopefully we can have all 95 do the homework assignment. It's much easier and it'll be beneficial in the long run. So, and I think we're all set. So
we have a question. We have a couple questions actually.
Sure.
So the first one, is there an interrogative word analogous to me for non-rhetorical questions, or do non-rhetorical questions have a different structure altogether?
Yeah, non-rhetorical questions are they're asked a little bit differently, um, and we definitely will go into it as we get into the further lessons because it's a little bit tricky. So you can say like for example uh, T Saji, that means that's just like a statement like I speak. Stepping in Coptic again. But like T Saji, it means like I speak. But when you're gonna say uh, I speak as like do I speak, for example, then it switches to I Saji, which is called a second tense. So that's kind of the way, but you still ask it with an inflection. Like if you're speaking, you say I Saji, like do I speak or whatever. That's just kind of a simple example. But yeah, so in non-rhetorical questions, it's asked. I mean, it's different. But again, it's a little bit advanced for what we're doing now, so we definitely will get into it. It's actually not as hard as it sounds, but right now because everything is just so brand new, it may sound like it's crazy hard, but it's not really. It's just because everything is just brand new. So
Okay, and the next question we have, it's about the demonstrative adjectives.
hmm
Will the demonstrative adjectives take the place of the definite or indefinite part of the word? So, for example, will there be a u or a p before the word?
no, because they're attached to the noun. Remember, an adjective describes the noun, so you would have like pai romi. You would not have pai u romi. That doesn't that's grammatically incorrect. But if you were going to use the pronoun, then you would say fai u romi pe. But with the adjective, it's always attached, so you're not going to have anything in between pi and romi. Because remember, the adjective is always going to be attached to the noun.
And our last question is about the homework. Is the homework answering numbers 1 through 4 that are in the page you were just showing?
Well, we kind of went through it. This one didn't really have a homework assignment, so what I'll do is I'll just make a few questions that something similar, but just something different, so they can have some practice. But we'll have a different homework assignment. It's not gonna be due for a while anyway because we still have the other one is not due till next week. So we'll try to see if we can make an assignment uh, and give you guys several days or a week to work on it. So hopefully everybody's kind of getting interested and not too discouraged. We had a lot of great answers on the homeworks and everything, and a lot of good questions today. So I hope this is kind of people are getting interested because you can actually kind of see where a lot of the things that we see in church, they're actually some things already are starting to become understandable, and it's only been the first 3 lessons. So. Any other questions or concerns or anything, or any other things, suggestions that we can that we can do to help you guys? Just let us know.
We have one last question. It's actually from our hymns class today, and we didn't have time to answer it. We were running a little over. Do you know why sometimes in Coptic we say Maryam and sometimes we say Maryam?
It's if there's a difference, it's probably just the author preference. Um, I'm just trying to think back as to because really what we go by is the gold standard of Coptic language and Coptic grammar is we reference the New Testament Coptic. So I'm just trying to think back, I'll have an answer for you as to what's the most common thing used in the New Testament Coptic, because again, that's always what's referenced back to as the gold standard for proper grammar. So but the difference between Mare and Mariam is most likely it's going to be author preference, and I'm guessing Mariam is probably something later that came later and was with the increasing Arabic influence on Coptic, it probably got introduced a little bit more often. But again, it's just a guess at this point. But I'll try to have a better answer for you next week after I do a little bit of research.
And we just got another question, and this might be a question for Mark as well. Is there a way to contact Dr. Sidrak or any of the other instructors by email if we have questions? Thanks.
Yeah, several people have contacted me through the message board on the website. I'll show you guys how to do it. Hopefully you can see my screen here. Let me shrink it back down a little bit. It's a little bit huge here. Okay. So if you go to the let's see if I can get to the screen here. Yeah, so if you go to the My Dashboard option, and you go down to Messages, and then you can search for anybody. Like, let's say I want to send Mark Solomon a message and ask a question or something. You can search, and let's see if it works. Yeah, so you found Mark Solomon, and then you can, let's see. Yeah, so you can just type a message like, hello, Mark. That's how you can send anybody messages to other classmates or anybody. So you can just go right through the website. And you can also, if some people have contacted me through email, which is fine, so you can contact me directly by email too. I probably will get that a lot quicker, because as you all know, we get that on our phones immediately. So you can always email me. My email's pretty easy. I'll type it up here. That's my email. So anybody's welcome to email me if you have any questions. You can go through the website, or this comes to me directly. It's much more if you need like a more immediate answer. You probably get it quicker that way. Yeah, thanks for being patient with all the little bugs and things that we've been trying to work through with all these things. But hopefully, we'll get the hang of all this too. So thank you very much for listening today. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
So Joe, to conclude, we had some requests last time when we said Jip and Yot at the end to slow it down a little.
Okay.
So we'll conclude with a prayer today. Yeah. Maybe a little slower.
One thing I was thinking of too is like in the future, because at least like we pray in the beginning and the end. So if we're gonna say it in Coptic at the end, I'll try to plan in the future maybe to have it like typed up, so maybe we can all just read and say it together in Coptic. Let me see actually.
And I want to make a note to all of the students out there that we do have the forums. If you have questions that maybe other people might be able to answer, you can use the forums. And then everyone can see your questions and see the answers, so everyone benefits from your question. Especially because a lot of the times people have the same questions as you. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to switch it to the camera here so that everyone can see the text. I'm just holding up a book this time, so hopefully, let's see if I can switch back to so everyone can have the text here.
Click the screen share button.
There we go. So hopefully, I don't know if this is going to work, but so hopefully you can see the text here. Of course, it's a mirror image, so sorry, it's not working as the way I planned. But anyway, well, we can go ahead and say it anyway. خنفران مفيوت بشيري نبت ثواب ونوت ينوت أمين جي بنيوت اتخني في قوي معرف توفو انجي بكران مارس انجي تكمت اورو بتهناك معرف شوبي اما فريتي خنت فه نم هيجن بيكاهي بن اويك انتراستي نيف نان ام فو اوه كانيت ايرون نان ايفول اما فريتي هون انتنكو ايفول انيتاون انتان ارو اوه امبرنتن اخون ابيرازموس الله نحمن ايفول ها بيبتهو خن بخريستوس إيسوس بن شويس جيثوك تتيمت أورو نمتيقوم نمبياو شاعنه أمين خنفران مفيوت نمبشيري نبنما ثواب ونوتي نوت أمين. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good night and no playbook.
Thank you, Joe.